All right, I believe we are live. It's always a good day when our technology works. As you all know, my name is Megan Huber. I'm really excited for today's Momentum with Megan show because I have three amazing guests with me today. I had an idea that I actually got from listening to someone else's podcast to do a show like this where we would feature you. We would feature members of our community who have certain questions that they would love for me to give them guidance on, to answer, to do a little bit of coaching. And we're going to start doing this once a month. So today our guests are Lauren, Leslie, and Crystal. You're going to get to see each one of them. They're going to introduce themselves. You'll get to hear a little bit about their business and get to sit here and witness some live coaching on the spot. I always like to share that I have not pre-prepared my own self for their questions. I know what their questions are, but it's not like I have like my answer sitting here on a piece of paper. So it's all going to kind of be on the spot. I think that's like the most fun, authentic, real way to do it, where you're literally getting to see on the spot guidance from me and how we're going to be interacting with each other here. So this is an episode that we're going to start doing once a month, every month. On the Momentum with Megan show. So this is a show where I go live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I typically am here by myself, teaching you and training you on a particular topic. And this is just a really great way to showcase you all and to showcase people in our community. It gives you an opportunity to learn about other people's businesses, to be really inspired and motivated about what women just like you are doing in the world. And also hearing about things that they may have challenges around. I think lots of times questions come from either a challenge that we are currently experiencing or an opportunity that we have in front of us right now. And oftentimes that challenge is our greatest opportunity as well. So I'm really excited to dive in with all of our guests today. We have three incredible guests. I've actually had experience working with all three of them. Two of them I'm actively working with right now in different programs. One of them has worked with me in the past. I've known all of these women for actually quite a while, all of them. So I was really excited to see who had questions. And if you did submit a question and you were not one of the three selected for this show, we are keeping a database of everyone who submits questions along with your questions, so you may be chosen for a future show. But every time we roll this out once a month, if you want one of these featured spots, make sure you are getting your question in, either via the post in the Facebook group or in the email that we send out to the list. So I'm excited to dive in. We're going to kick it off with Lauren. So Lauren, if you will unmute yourself, come on the line. Say hello, and how about we start out with a quick introduction, Lauren. Tell everybody who you are. Tell them a little bit about what you do, your business, and then we'll dive into your question.
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm super excited. Thank you so much, Megan. Picture the scene. It's the 5th of November, 2014. I've been called into my boss's office. I walk up the stairs into his glass goldfish bowl, and he said, "Sit down." And I'm like, "Hi, how are you? We need to talk." Well, let's just let you know that I was top performing female in my division in financial services. I was a senior leader that everyone else turned to. And my boss the previous week had just given me my bonus and an award for being the top leader. And in that meeting, he turned around and said to me, "I think you were happier when you were doing that personal training job of yours that you used to do. You've been walking around this place as if you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders." Well, to cut a long story really, really super short, that was when I really doubted myself in my early 40s, thinking that I could no longer cope at work. I couldn't focus, I couldn't concentrate, my moods were all over the place, my self-esteem, my self-confidence were absolutely rock bottom. I left my job, and 3 months later I discovered I'd just been through an early menopause. So that made me realize that women don't know and understand what menopause is all about. Employers don't know and don't understand what menopause is all about. So what I do now is support employers and women to understand menopause and to thrive through that life stage. And that's been my mission for the last 7 years. I speak globally. I work with anyone that's willing to listen. And for me, it's just really super important that something that we're all going to go through is something that we know what it is, we know where to get the right help and support, and that we can flourish through that life stage. So that's a little bit about my background.
Awesome. Happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And you work with corporations and individuals, correct?
Yeah, I do.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, happy to have you here to kick us off for the first ever Ask Megan episode. So thank you so much for submitting your question. Let's go ahead and dive into what your question is. Hopefully you remember what it was. So go ahead and let us know what your question is, and then you and I will dive in.
Thank you so much. So I am so super passionate about this that sometimes I can lose consistency, and there's so many things and so many things I want to do and so many people I want to reach that sometimes I can get, I guess you might call it shiny object syndrome. I see an opportunity to up level someone's knowledge, or find another way to reach people to share the message, that I get so passionate that sometimes I end up spending a whole week or a month doing stuff for free just to make sure that women don't fall into the trap I did. And I need to learn to be more consistently on track with my message so that my business can flourish, because I know that by doing that, I will reach more people.
So what's the question?
How do I get more consistent?
With what specifically?
The business aspect of my, of what I'm delivering, so basically I end up doing lots of freebies, and I then kind of go, oh, it's the end of the week, and I maybe haven't put the time and effort into developing the relationships, or, engaging with potential clients or following up with past clients. And then a month goes past or 2 months goes past, and I'm like, oh, I'm not quite on plan with where I want to be. So it's about trying to create those daily habits and that consistency in what I'm doing on a day, week, month, year basis, so that I can start to see more tangible results in what I'm doing.
Okay, cool. Question for you, Lauren. When you look into the future in your business, in terms of what your vision is for what you're creating, what you're implementing, the way that you're working with people, the programs that you are rolling out, the amount of money that you want to make, how far down the line can you see in your business? How far in the future?
I mean, since joining Momentum, that's changed quite significantly. I feel that I have landed on a really significant way to help improve women's knowledge and help them thrive in the workplace, but through their employer rather than individually. And I can absolutely see that program rolling out across the UK, across the US, across Australia, Canada, New Zealand, over the next, I want to say 3 years. And that would be working through global organizations who I've got existing relationships with. So I can see that becoming quite systematic. You know what the next step's going to be, you know what the program is, you've got a built-in way to continually improve it. And it's just about being true to my message and the clients that I want to serve.
Cool. So if we look out like a little over a year, so between now and the end of 2021, what are the top 2 primary ways that you want to work with clients? And what I'm really saying is, like, what do you want your 2 main programs to be? And there could be a third. And if there is a third, I want to hear it. But what are the top 2 to 3 programs that you want to be rolling out and consistently enrolling clients into over the next, how many more months? 12, 13, 14 months between now and end of 2021.
Yeah. So my primary, this is new. So my primary, we have some living pets here today. My primary is annual leadership development / mastermind program for women in leadership positions in financial services and legal. So that's my number 1 program. And the other one is going to be like a mini version of that women can access directly. So the first one will be through employer, And then the other one will be like a smaller version of that will be open to larger numbers, but for women just to sign up directly.
Okay, so those are the two main programs.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one sounds like you're working with the actual employer, the company. Yeah. Okay, when you look out over the next 14 months, how many companies would you like to have that working relationship with?
I've just done webinars and presented to over 800 companies in the last week, but then it is World Menopause Day, so it is my time of year. If I could work with 12 of those companies in the next 14 months, I would be ecstatic.
Okay, so on average, if we chunk that down, that's approximately you bringing on one per month.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the activities, and keep it to no more than 2 to 3.
Yep.
What are the activities that would lead to conversations that would lead to being booked with a particular corporation to have that relationship with them?
Okay, so first of all, I've just released a white paper today. So it's getting people to come from the webinar that the webinars that I've done in the last week to sign up the white paper. When they download the white paper, then that triggers me booking them in for conversation. And then it's getting their HR department to join my free challenge.
Okay. So it sounds like where you are originally gaining access to that demographic is through the webinar.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so then this is great information. So we know that your webinar works because you had over 800 people sign up.
Yeah.
So I see two things there. Number one, it's going ahead and looking at your calendar over the next 12 to 14 months and scheduling out when you want to do that same webinar again. Mm-hmm. So you get to decide, do you want to do that once a quarter? Do you want to do that once a month? Mm-hmm. Do you do it 2 times a month? You get to decide the frequency of that. Mm-hmm. And then all we're doing is reverse engineering. Okay. Yeah. So we need to plot out those webinars. Mm-hmm. Well, if we're hosting a webinar and we reverse engineer, we need to promote the webinar. And we probably need to promote the webinar for roughly 7 to 10 days leading up to the webinar. So now we know what we're doing 7 to 10 days leading up to the webinar as it relates to that particular activity. And then after the webinar, you've got hundreds of people, so we need to have a follow-up system in place. Yeah. So that every day after the webinar, you want to be incorporating a portion of your time, whether it's 5 days a week or it's a certain number of days a week, but in my opinion, it needs to be done every single week because that's a lot of people that you could be following up with. So there's a follow-up system on the other side, because the follow-up is then going to lead to whatever it leads to next. Either it's, I'll send you my white paper, or maybe they're actually ready to have a conversation with you and you're booking consultations. So promo to webinar to follow-up to booking sales calls, I mean, that's one of your activities that you are just rinsing and repeating over and over and over, and really building up a system around and a process around, so that you're just repeating the same thing over and over again, and you're refining that process. So that's one thing there. The other program is for individuals to purchase, and it's a group, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I know you follow our Launching It Easy methodology for that. So that's the other thing that you'd be doing. Look at your calendar over the next 12 months. Because you're following that system, you want to plot out every other month when you're actually conducting that. Reverse engineer the 3 weeks leading up to it, you're promoting, and then that is booking conversations with you. So it's easy to figure out what to do, especially when you've got it's easy to figure out what am I doing when I'm actually launching, leading up to the launch, right after the launch. It's easy to know what to figure out to do. Okay, I've got my 7 to 10 day promo period for my webinar. I post the webinar. Then I think where you've got a little bit of work to do is creating the sales process for the follow-up system with that webinar, because those are yours to lose at this point, right? They're there. You've got a captive audience, and they're yours to win or lose. So that's what I think needs to be developed. so that you're working that system. And then eventually, you want to eventually, this is us just kind of future casting out. I think sometime you can do this sometime next year, actually, Lauren. I'd like to see you bring someone on your team who you train to do a lot of the follow-up.
Yeah.
Because you don't have time to follow up with 800 people. One person can't do that. Because you also need to be out continuing to build relationships, continuing to deliver, continuing to provide the service that you sold to the corporations and to the clients. And oftentimes that follow-up and that sales piece and booking consultation, that's what actually falls through the cracks in our businesses, because we're doing all the things. So it would be super smart for you to go ahead and start thinking about it and put it on your radar to bring someone in who you can train to follow up with those people properly, and then train them to make those, or to have those sales conversations actually. So I think if you will just take some time to look at your calendar over the next 12 months, you're very clear on what your 2 offers are. You're very clear on the 2 ways that you are inviting people to nurture them and to give them a really good glimpse of what it's like to work with you. I think it's more about like, what are you doing in between that? And in between that, it is this follow-up system. It's following up with people. It's continuing to put valuable content in front of them, and it's booking consultations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just consistently booking consultations in between the webinars, in between your 9-day launches. But the cool thing about this is that's what's generating the leads. So you've got all the leads. All the leads are there. I mean, they really are. It's just a matter of you putting together a follow-up system so that you are reaching out, you're nurturing, and you are just straight up asking people to get on a call with you. Because that's where your sales are going to come. And then again, I really want to reiterate, you're going to burn out if you're the only one doing all that. That's where you want to get someone to come in to be nurturing those follow-up, those relationships in the follow-up sequence, and then train them to be able to have that call. You might have to be the one who does it for the corporation, but for the individuals buying your group, that somebody else can be doing that. You just need to train them.
Okay.
And what I'm looking at, Lauren, is just simplifying the process for you, right? There are some things that all of us can do, but when you're really clear on what are my core offers, who's my ideal client for those offers, what's my core message, and it's all about inviting the leads, what you're doing really well for both your webinars and your 9-day launches, you've got down pretty down pat. You are delivering them. And where I see a gap being filled, it's the follow-up sequence, because you've got a plethora of people to be converting into a client.
Yeah. I think I get distracted because there's so much to do that I end up kind of just turning away from it. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Well, pay attention to those things that you're turning away from, because that is a sign of who you can bring on your team to start doing some of those activities. And, this could be a different conversation at a different time, and you're in momentum, so we can talk about that. But it's also bringing someone on and adding tasks to their task list, their responsibilities slowly. You don't have to bring someone full time immediately. Bring someone on for like 2 responsibilities. Train them on those 2 responsibilities. Get them to a point where they're really confident, and then add 1 or 2 more on. That's what I've always done with my team. It's worked really, really well. I kind of call that like slow it down to speed it up. But the important thing is like really training them to do a very good job, not just saying like, oh, I don't want to do this activity, let me just bring somebody on and they'll figure it out. And that never works. So I just want you to put that on your radar. I want you to possibly keep a running list. Start jotting down these things that you're kind of like turning away from, that you don't really want to do, because that's what you can bring someone else on to do.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome, Lauren. Thanks for your question. And Next, I believe we were going to do Crystal next, right? Crystal, and then Leslie. Crystal is she bounced. Maybe she had to go into the DMV. Leslie, you're up. Unmute yourself. Come on.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
Awesome. I am great. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your business and what you do.
Now, Crystal has come back, so do you want to continue or?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Excellent. Okay, so what is it I do? I teach women who are already successful, willing to do the work, the art of results inside my 8 Essentials Maven's Mind, which is a mastermind, and the 4 pillars, for those of you who understand pillaring, which I recently learned with Megan, are simplicity, repetition, mastermind, and mindset. And I've spent 25 years in personal development, 12 years focused specifically on these 4 things. And my current Maven's Mind is entering it tonight. It's 29th consecutive business quarter. And I have to tell you that I did a launch under Megan's tutelage a couple of weeks ago, and I have 4 new people entering tonight. So I'm really excited.
Amazing.
It is so wonderful.
I love it. I got to tell you, Leslie, it has really been a real joy to see you take your body of work and for us to work together to put it into that launch system. I mean, I would even go as far to say it's been really easy to work with you because you know your craft so well. And you've spent so many years mastering your craft. And I think that deserves a little bit of airtime for everybody listening to recognize, and I hope you picked up on the number Leslie just said, her 29th consecutive quarter of running this particular program. She's been running the same program for years, rinse and repeat over and over again. That's where you really develop mastery of your craft and mastery of your service. And it really does build your reputation in your body of work. It really positions you as the go-to expert. I'm a really big fan of mastery. And I think in our industry, what you're saying is so rare in our industry. Like, how many people do you hear have been running the same program for almost a decade? You don't hear about that. So I just want to commend you for being so consistent and really being masterful in developing your body of work, because that's why you're able to get people such amazing results. And I think you've shared with me before that your clients are also very loyal. You have a lot of repeat clients who are coming back quarter after quarter after quarter, year after year after year into the same program. And I mean, that is, we're just going to talk a little bit of business. Yes, obviously it's great for relationship building, but that's when you know someone is really dedicated to service. And we want our clients coming back and repeating our programs. I mean, that typically is like 30% of our bottom line is clients coming back. So kudos to you for operating in that way.
Thank you. And let me share, though, along with this, as Megan says, you can't read the label from inside the jar. And so while I do know my material very well, I was in the weeds looking for the 4 pillars. Right? I mean, I couldn't see it. And that's one of the benefits that I found working with you, Megan, is that you have this 30,000-foot view, which I do for others, but I couldn't see it for myself. I had to have somebody objective. And by the way, Megan was my client 10 years ago for a couple of things. So now the student has become the teacher. And so I'm very grateful very grateful.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. All right,
Good.
let's hear your question.
So my question is one I get all the time, and I'm looking to expand listening to you, how you couch this answer. So it's about repetition. Now, everybody knows intellectually that we learn through repetition, multiplication tables, sports, practicing. You know that it's when we do things in space consistent intervals repeatedly over and over and over again is one of the paths to mastery. Yet, why is it that we still prefer and are looking for an overnight fix while we know intellectually that it has to be done through repetition? Yet there's this thing inside me and inside my clients that say, yeah, but isn't there a magic something? Can't we do this faster? So I'm interested in how you would respond to that. What would you tell me as your client?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the first thing is recognizing like where is that actually, like where's that type of behavior coming from? And you know way more about the science behind that than I do. That's your world, and I use very like layperson terms, not the scientific terms. But the first thing is, I think that most of us human beings, if not all of us, I think we're trained that way. I think from a really young age, we are trained to operate that way. And I actually think it's gotten worse probably in the last 30 years with the rise of technology. And everything is kind of like psychologically wired in our world for instant gratification and instant pleasure. And I mean, if we just look at like turning on Netflix, I mean, if you study Netflix, and there's documents out there where you can study the psychology behind Netflix, the whole way that it's actually designed visually to the eye, and the process that we go through with our remote control with those categories. And then, you can swipe this way. You have got access to every single episode in a season immediately at your fingertips. It's why on a Saturday night, if I find like a new show, I'll sit there and watch all 8 episodes until 2 in the morning when I find a show, because it's like, oh my gosh, I got to the end, but I could watch the next one because it's already there for me. And I want to know now. I don't want to wait a week for a show. So part of it, I really do think that society and technology and just the way that we've been psychologically trained, I think that part of it is we're all fighting against that training. And we make decisions how we've been trained to make decisions. And we make decisions oftentimes based on past outcomes. And I think it's so easy for all of us. We're all the same. Like we're all wired. We're all human beings. I think that we're defaulting. It's like a default. It's like we're defaulting to the old training of how we've always been trained to make decisions. And we're easily defaulting to, well, because I hear this all the time from clients. It's like they want to tell you the story of, but I did it 3 years ago, and 3 years ago, this is what happened. I'm like, I don't care what you did 3 years ago. I could care less what you did 3 years ago. I care about what we're doing moving forward in the future. And we're going to have to make decisions in a much different way versus looking at all the evidence with the outcomes from the past. So all of that to say, I think a lot of it comes from our conditioning. I'd go as far to say like brainwashing, and just the access that we have to anything. I mean, look at Amazon. I mean, I ordered a rug the other day. I got it the very next day. I ordered this like dental supply, electric toothbrush, dental tools. I got it in less than 24 hours. And Sean and I were even talking about, we have a pool and we bought a float on Amazon, but the pump, like the whatever, wherever you have to blow the air into the float, you have to have a special kind of pump. You can't just like blow it up with your mouth. It's called a Boston valve. I live 5 minutes from Target. And Sean was like, don't drive to Target, just order it on Amazon. It'll be delivered to your doorstep tomorrow. But I lived like 5 minutes from Target. I could just drive to Target and go get it, which I did go do last night instead of ordering it from Amazon. But that's what I'm saying. It's like we're so wired for this instant gratification thing. So I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it, it brings up and it triggers our I am not enoughness. I hear that a lot from clients. And actually yesterday on my team meeting with my team, we always talk about like, what are we hearing and what are we seeing from our clients? What are they presenting on sessions, on calls, whatever. And for the last 2 weeks, the thing that's actually been coming up the most is people are comparing themselves to other people in the program who are further along, who are making more money, who are having great successes and wins. And then they're talking to my team about how I thought I would be further along by now. Why am I not seeing that success? I don't want to show up because these people are being more successful and I'm not being more successful. And so it's triggering all of their, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not cut out for this. I am not enough of whatever. So I think a lot of it is it's triggering old wounds. It's triggering things that need to be healed. It's presenting that way for me, for our clients right now. And it's like, well, it's like who are we on a race against? Like, who are we racing against? And that's kind of how it's showing up. It's like, well, she's doing that good. What's wrong with me? Because I'm not getting a result that fast. And I think that we're just so privy in this day and age to see what everybody else is doing. And it's just so easy to compare ourselves to what everybody else is doing out there. I mean, we see it. You turn the TV on, you see it. You turn social media on, you see it. You flip on your phone, you see it. And it's this constant barrage of what everybody else looks like, sounds like, is achieving, how much money they're making. And if you don't put parameters and boundaries in place, like this is where I'm going to use my word, and it's discipline. I don't know that everybody likes that word, but I've had to train myself to be really disciplined because I compare myself too. I mean, you just go to Instagram and you flip through Instagram for 2 minutes, not with the intention of comparing yourself, and you are down a rabbit hole of comparison because of what you see and what you read. And I've had to put boundaries around not even flipping through Instagram or only using Facebook for a business tool to connect with my clients versus using Facebook to scroll through the news feed. So I think part of it is being really aware of what's actually revealing itself and being an observer of that. So rather than judging ourselves, it's just having a certain level of awareness and being able to observe the behavior and observe the thoughts. Let the thought pass by because we're not the thought. And then deciding, okay, is this actually in alignment with the goal that I say I desire or who I desire to become? Is this actually in alignment with that? It's either a yes or it's a no. And if it's a no, but we habitually are doing it like scrolling on Instagram at 9 o'clock at night just to pass the time because we don't have anything else to do, like a lot of us do, it's putting a boundary around that. But then it's being disciplined enough to stick to the boundary and being committed enough to the goal or to the future self or to being the best version. And I'm not going to sit here and say that that's easy. That's not easy. That is hard to do. That's like having a tub of ice cream sitting in the freezer and your bad bacteria in your gut is sending signals to your brain to go get sugar. And you know that that ice cream is in your freezer, you're gonna want to go get it. Like it takes a lot of discipline to be able to stay in alignment with the things that are actually going to help us become who we desire to become. And ultimately, people have to practice that.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about your program. I sat in on 2 of your 5 days, right? Your 5-day challenges. immensely rewarding. And you're bringing up the mindset piece. It seems to me that any program that's worth its salt has to address what we're talking about, which is the mindset piece, the, breaking of habits and this bombarding of sensory overload all the time, and not being able to focus is what I hear a lot. And so I want to say that in your program, as in mine, when you're considering, make sure that that mindset piece is one of their pillars, even if they don't call it a pillar.
Exactly, because we talk a lot about this in all of my programs too. And yes, we all, if we're going to grow anything, action has to be taken, right? If you want to get healthier and you want to lose or like strengthen your muscles, let's just say like tone muscles aren't going to tone because you sit around and think about it, or you sit around and meditate, or if you've got a great mindset, muscles are not going to get toned. You're going to have to go lift a weight. There has to be resistance on that muscle, and it's going to have to be done over and over and over and over and over again consistently. And then you're probably going to have to start picking up heavier weight because your body's going to get really used to that. But we know that action has to be taken to get the result. However, the decision to even take the action, the thought, the feelings, that's all mindset. So if we don't change the mindset first, then we don't go take the action. It's the same thing with, I really notice this with myself with team and hiring team. Team isn't cheap, right? Like it's an expense. And you've got to be in the mindset. It's like, it's one of two things. It's either the team is going to support me with XYZ and take ABC off my plate, and I'm going to be able to thrive, yada, yada, yada. Or, oh no, what if I can't pay my team? What if I can't trust my team? I'm going to lose control. What if I don't make the money to pay the team? What if I can't have, that's two different mindset worlds right there. One is going to lead to you hiring team and taking the action to hire. The other one is not. And you're going to keep doing the work yourself, and you're going to keep burning out, and you're going to keep exhausting yourself, and you're going to keep spinning your wheels, and you're not going to make progress. But that decision to bring the team on wasn't an action decision first. It was a thought first. That's all mindset. All mindset.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. That was fabulous.
Did you get your question answered?
I did. I wanted an expansion of, we learn from each other, and we take the things that work for us and resonate and expand our understanding. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great question. That's a really great conversation starter too.
Thank you.
All right, Crystal, you're up.
Sorry about the technical difficulties on my side. Just as you were asking for me, my phone said it was too hot. So this topic is a very hot topic. It was giving me the whole emergency. You can't shut on your phone. So sorry about that.
No, totally fine. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do, and tell us about your business.
Well, my name's Crystal Fiorentino, and I'm a yoga therapist and a life coach. And I help women actually decode what their physical or mental symptoms are in order to heal the body and the mind. So essentially, I consider myself a body whisperer because I can kind of tell emotionally why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. So it's just a different way of healing instead of treating the symptom. So instead of treating anxiety or treating addiction or treating thyroid issues, we're actually treating the origin cause of why those things are happening in the body, because those are just your body's way of telling you how out of balance you are.
Very cool. And
it is. My question is, I've created a lead magnet that's on my website that better explains the disconnection or the dissonance between the body mind and how physical symptoms kind of move through the body. And it's an e-guide and it has an assessment. So if you download the e-guide, you can also take the assessment, and it will tell you, generally speaking, where, like, what kind of the theme of the root cause is, or the origin, so that you know where to start working. It also is an opportunity to explain what I do and give people who download it the opportunity to book 90 minutes with me for a Reveal It session and go over the assessment. So in the last 3 weeks now, I've had over 250 signups to download. I've gotten, it's about a 35% open rate on the first email that has the e-guide. And I have a 54% open rate on people who actually download the e-guide. So traditionally speaking, those numbers are fine. They're actually decent numbers for cold traffic.
Yeah.
But it's not my goal to get an email. My goal is for people to digest the information so that they actually start alleviating the physical symptoms. And that's not happening. I don't feel the feedback I'm getting is, oh yeah, I've been meaning to read that. So my question to you is, what are other ways that I can relay this information so that it's actually of service and not part of a to-do list?
So is your question, well, let me ask you this. So they download the e-guide. Is there an automated email sequence that they're getting from you over a course of a couple of weeks?
Yes. So they're getting roughly, I think, 8 emails. It explains more of the e-guide. It explains about me, about this work. It gives real life examples of how alcoholism manifests or how thyroid Hashimoto's manifests. Gives all those examples, video testimonials. And those are being opened too, but I'm not finding that they're actually reading the e-guide. They're not reading the e-guide, which is where I think the meat of the service is that I'm offering.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting statistic to recognize, that maybe your audience prefers video over an e-guide. So if they're watching the videos, but they're not reading the e-guide, I think that's really great data for you to be collecting. That and all of us have to do that with our audiences, because some audiences, they prefer to listen via audio. Some audiences prefer to see the video. Some audiences do prefer the reading. It sounds like, based on what you're sharing with that email sequence, is that your audience actually prefers video over the written piece. So that's one thing to note. Based on that, what you could do is you could do like a video, don't call it this is just my words, like some sort of video synopsis of what's actually in that guide. And that could come out in that sequence somewhere. So I don't know if that would be like, look at your sequence. Does it make sense for it to be like email number 2, email number 3, or when I download the e-guide and I get the welcome email that has the e-guide in it, you could give me the option to either read the e-guide or press play and watch your video, which is you just literally saying what's inside of that e-guide. So now I've got an option. If I like to read, I'll read. If I want to watch a video, I'll watch a video. And so you're giving people 2 different options to actually get access to that information. That I would say to do and test it out to see if it's actually making a difference, because all this ultimately just has to be tested. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind that I would do differently, is turn it into a video and give people the option.
Would you go through the entire e-guide in the first video, or would you give it in small, encapsulated, easy to digest pieces? Because it's a lot of information.
I think it would be cool if that was its own sequence. I think that, yeah. I mean, who I'm actually thinking of who does what you're talking about, Brendan Burchard has got an email sequence just like this. And it's like a 7-part email sequence, and he's breaking down like his 7 steps, and it's 7 emails with 7 different videos, 1 video on each one of those steps. It's like a 10 to 12 minute video. And then at the end of the sequence, or no, I think it's starting on like, it's been a long time since I studied this, probably like a year of his, but it's like right around video number 5, he starts asking you to click a link to then go to a page to book a call with him, or not him anymore. It's like, you know, a call with somebody else. So I think if it's too much information for you to put in one video, absolutely, that could be a really cool email sequence, because your people are basically telling you they watch videos. So they're going to be likely to listen to those and press play and consume the content. And then I would definitely be capturing them and sending them to a scheduling link to book a call with you.
Okay. I love that idea of doing, you know, putting the e-guide in a video. I think it'll also help showcase who I am. I think I come across better in video than on paper anyway. I think we all do.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't think about it before, but I'll do it.
Do it. Try it out and track the numbers. You're already tracking the numbers with that sequence right now. You've got the data. So now go test it out in a different format. Same information. So really the only thing we're changing here is we're taking the print guide and we're putting in video format, and you want to compare the data from those two things. Look at your numbers and see if there's a significant difference. And the other thing I would be testing too, I'd want to know, I want to know if people consume it, but I also want to track, are people clicking the link to get on a call with you?
Okay.
Because that sequence is great for you to be booking calls, sales calls all the time, to be filling programs.
Okay. Thank you. I'll do
Yeah,
that.
You're welcome. So go do that and circle back around and let me know like what the outcome of that is.
Absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome, everybody. I see we have a couple of guests. Is it Shantae? Shantae joined us. So good to see you. Hey, Kate, good to see you too. Yes, Shantae is saying painkiller instead of taking the vitamins. I think she typed that in when you were talking, Crystal. Awesome. You ladies, this was so fabulous. We are like right on time too. Thank you so much for being our first featured guest of the Ask Megan Momentum with Megan show. We're going to keep doing this once a month. So if anybody watching and listening live or the replay really enjoyed this type of a segment, you could be featured here as well. So we will do this once a month. It's super easy. I sent out an email and I made a post and just asked you to leave us your question that you would want to get some guidance, coaching, answers from me directly here on our weekly show. And then I'm going in, I'm reading them, I'm selecting which questions I want to answer, who we want to feature. And then obviously our team is keeping all the questions in a database so you can be picked for a show in the future. But we're going to start doing this once a month, like I said at the beginning of the show. So be on the lookout. We'll do it in 4 weeks. You ladies are amazing. Amazing questions. I love them all. So articulate and just focused, and what's the word I'm looking for? I'm masterful just keeps coming to me. I just love it when people are so focused on being of high service to their clients. And that's just so obvious with all 3 of you. So thanks for being here, everybody. And if you are catching the replay, if you have any questions that you want to jot into the comment section, I'll be circling back around and I will answer those. And be sure to join us again next week for our weekly Facebook Live show. It happens every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. I'd love for you to join us live or catch the replay. It's a great time for you to get some training on your business and also ask your questions, and you can get my answers in that Facebook Live. So I will see everyone inside the Facebook group. Thanks, Lauren, Leslie, and Crystal for your amazing questions and for being here live. And I will see you all soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.